Narcissists and demons, are they one and the same? That's what we're talking about today at queenbeing.com. Let's get started. My name is Angie Atkinson, and this channel is all about teaching you what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want. On this channel, I provide free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in your life. I like to call it toxic relationship rehab. If that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and consider it one step closer to taking back your life. Let's go. We're going to talk about something that I have wanted to talk about for quite some time now, but I've never gotten around to it. Today, during one of my live streams, a person asked me if I thought that narcissists and demons were synonymous, and I do not think that. Here's what I said. I want to talk about something in regard to that. I've seen other YouTubers who talk about this type of stuff say that they believe that those are demons inhabiting the bodies of those narcissists, or that they're possessed or whatever. I don't believe that. I think it's bullshit. Yeah, because every single thing that a narcissist is able to do to us is explainable through psychology, through science. They've even proven that, you know, part of the narcissist's brain is thinner than the rest of our brain, the part that is dealing with empathy. We are chemically addicted to the narcissist. It's a whole big mess. So understand that my stance on the whole demon thing is they're not demons. Demons are a concept that humans made up to explain away the evils in the world, in my opinion. I'm sorry for saying all that, but that's how I feel. I mean, yeah, they seem demonic for sure. I'll give you that. I just personally, I don't think demons are a thing. I think it's humanity's attempt to explain things that are unexplainable, or evil things. But that's just my personal opinion, and I respect yours as well. Like I said, that's totally my personal opinion, and I absolutely respect your opinion, so please tell me in the comments below what you think. I have a few more points to share with you today regarding this situation. Let's look at the case of Nadia, an 18-year-old girl from Saudi Arabia who suffered from depression. Her parents, who were religious people, took her to a faith healer. That faith healer decided to use a bunch of different methods, including choking the girl until she passed out in order to be relieved of her demons. So at that time, Nadia said they need to separate religion from psychology, especially for us women who suffer from depression because of our shitty circumstances, or we cannot and will not get help. She said society also needs to be rid of this shame toward mental illness and stop saying that people are weak or not perfect believers or possessed. Spirituality is important, and I agree that spirituality is important, says Angie. Nadia goes on to say, but it doesn't mean that you deny what is really going on, because it will only get worse. Are narcissists demons? I don't believe that. I believe that they are people who are personality disordered individuals. So I want you to think about that. The fact is that science has always helped us to understand things like psychology and neuroscience and all of this, and it's totally understandable that certain cultures might reach for superstition in order to explain things like mental illness and neurological disorders that we have scientific proof exist. They didn't know what a seizure was back in the day. They didn't know why a person would have schizophrenia. They didn't even have a name for schizophrenia. They used the explanations they had available to them in that time, such as that people were possessed by evil spirits, or they were cursed, or they were being punished by the gods. In this day and age, that this is still going on is shocking to me, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone who believes this stuff. I've just always been the sort of person who kind of needs a better understanding. I'm not someone who typically just assumes that what people say is true. In the 21st century, this is still happening. A girl was choked until she passed out as a way to treat her freaking depression. This happened in 1996. It's not that. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video. I already know. I don't even want to post it. But I feel the need to say what I'm saying right now, because I think that it's so important that we understand that, you know, back in the early 90s, there was an exorcism aired, ABC's 2020. During the event, the person who was narrating it says, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. You're seeing stuff that defies ordinary explanation." Really, what's happening, in my opinion, is that you've got a person here who is being abused, who is mentally ill. That's how I see it. The girl was acting possessed, but it wasn't really. Like, she wasn't saying things in different tongues or anything like that. There was nothing really supernatural actually happening, in my opinion. Do I think that supernatural things exist? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is that, like in that case, they said they had successfully exorcised this girl after just a couple of hours when she, as far as anyone could tell, had just become exhausted. Later, the audience was told that she relapsed. Demonic possession was relapsing. Had to be treated with standard antipsychotic drugs. And had to be treated with standard antipsychotic drugs. Okay, the exorcism, as it were, failed because it's not legit, because you can't exorcise mental illness unless you do the therapy and you do the medicine or whatever you need to do. You can't just choke a person until they pass out and think that you're going to save their lives. Unfortunately, they're not always as benign as the one that they showed on that episode of 2020 that time. According to my research, there are deaths. People are killed every single year because of religious people who are doing exorcisms on them. Back in the day, they used to burn witches, women and men, at the stake because, somebody in the church noticed that, her husband looked too closely at, a hot young lady. Or the woman said something that the church couldn't handle, or she could swim, or whatever. There is a lot of psychological harm that happens here, okay? It is generally accepted. In most cases, professional psychologists, psychiatrists will tell you that they won't play into the patient's delusions. They won't, tell a schizophrenic person that, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe you are being spied on by the government agency that you're, paranoid about. Or, maybe you're right. There are demons in your soul, in your spirit. Maybe you're right. Everything is, the sky is falling, whatever. Why would they play into any of those delusions? Because it doesn't make any sense. The fact is, I think that the best way the best way to explain why sometimes an exorcism does the trick for a person who's mentally ill is that it's a short-term effect. It's something that they want to believe is true. And when you believe something is true, it almost becomes true. And so if a person is being told over and over again, you're possessed, you're possessed, you're possessed, that's what ends up happening. What in the case of Nadia, in her case, I'm just going to share some information with you. She was not possessed and said so. She talked about what happened during her experience with a religious healer, and she said, of course, the person affirmed her parents' fears that she was possessed after she explained her depression symptoms to him. That the person claimed that evil spirits had entered her because she had no faith, her lack of faith. Okay. She said he made her drink something weird, and he recited the Quran to her and choked her with 2 of his fingers until she passed out. She said when she woke up, he convinced her parents that she was definitely possessed, and if she wasn't, she would have never passed out, even though she had marks on her throat. Her parents thought that the healer was laying hands on her as part of the ritual. And after she got through this whole horrible experience, this quote-unquote healer said that she needed 10 more similar sessions, seriously, to take the demons out of her. She refused and told her parents she would kill herself if she was brought back to the healer. And she described the session as absolute hell. She says that here she is 10 years later and is apparently still possessed. So regardless of what you believe, regardless of your religious affiliation, here's the thing. Depending on your personal beliefs, you may believe I'm full of crap and that in fact demons are possessing narcissists. And I totally respect that if you believe that. I apologize for being negative. If I seem negative, I don't mean to seem negative. I think I'm trying to be very positive here, because the fact is that if demons exist, then demons are not conquerable in so many ways, according to everything we hear, unless, of course, you're a certain religion. Well, here's the interesting fact. It seems that a lot of different religions have their own beliefs surrounding demons. The one that I just talked about was a Muslim family. Then, you've got your shamans from Ecuador, various Christian religious leaders, various other religions around the globe that are using faith healers. Do I think faith healing doesn't work? No. I think it does work. Do I think it works in regard to mental illness? Maybe. Do I think there's such a thing as demons that are causing people to be assholes? No. I don't. I wish I could say that I did. I've done some research. I see a lot of people write about it. I understand that it's a thing. I'm not saying I can't possibly believe that it's true. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in my current frame of mind, I do not believe that demons exist. And I believe that humans invented them to explain away things they couldn't understand back in the day. The same reason that humans invented the Greek gods, for example. They were all invented to tell stories and explain things that they didn't understand. The other thing that I think is important to remember is that a lot of religious healers may have very little education at all, and they have no psychology background or little psychology background, and medical related background is almost unheard of in the case of these types of people. And so these people are earning their livings by performing religious rituals, by healing people from things like quote-unquote possession. Mental health issues, depending on where you're from, they may be considered normal or they may not be considered normal. In the case of Nadia, she said that suffering from depression for 10 years has made it a long and dark struggle for her, where obviously it can be difficult to get out of bed. Things are, she feels like she's falling apart, and nobody will listen because where she lives, they won't stop spiritualizing everything, is what she said. Now sees her international friends as her support group. All I'm saying is there is a certain amount of shame around mental illness, even today in the United States. And I think that in some cases, people would rather believe that they are possessed by a demon or that their loved ones are possessed by demons than believe that they could be mentally ill or personality disordered. There it is. I'm sorry if I've offended you in any way. Yes, I am sorry about that. And I'm sorry if I have upset you. I never meant to. But my point is this. Take it for what it's worth. I don't think it really matters if they're demons or not. The fact is, if you're being abused by a narcissist, you're being abused. And if you want to continue to be abused, stick around. If you're done being abused, move right on. If they're a demon, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. There are people who talk about demons quite often on this very platform. So I'm sure you can find someone to listen to who will tell you, hey, you must be dealing with a demon instead of a human. Do I think narcissists are human entirely? I'd like to say they don't seem very human sometimes. Sometimes I've wondered if they're pod people. But in reality, I think they're personality disordered individuals. And I think they are struggling with their personality disorders because part of their personality disorder is that they don't believe anything's wrong with them. So they very rarely get treatment. And even when they do get treatment, they still kind of shine on the psychiatrist because, quite honestly, they don't believe anything's wrong with them. Tell me what you think. There should be no shame toward mental illness. It is what it is, and when you recognize it and deal with it, you can. Otherwise, you can pretend it's a demon if it helps you. Spiritual healing, I think it works in various situations, but I think it's kind of like law of attraction healing. Like it works if you believe it's going to work. Obviously, Nadia, our person that we used as an example here, she did not believe it was going to work because it didn't work for her. So I think anytime an exorcism does work, it's because the person who is possessed believes it's going to work. Ultimately, I believe that narcissists are humans. They don't act like humans in some cases, I'll admit it. It is hard work to consider healing from narcissism, from the cluster B disorders in general. There's a big stigma to them, because I believe that narcissists all have a core wound, just like we empaths tend to have. And that's kind of what draws us together. And sometimes our core wounds are similar, but the way we chose to deal with them are different, and that's why we either became an empath or a narcissist in about 99% of the cases. I think that therapists don't even like to deal with the NPD or BPD diagnoses. The attitude of demons being the reason for the narcissism is, in my opinion, off base. I find it interesting that people who are studying narcissism would even try to make those connections. The attitude also fosters a very large culture around fear and hatred, and I think we've got enough of this in our world today. I believe that demons and the whole process of them possessing people is kind of like the stuff of fiction or horror films or whatever, but it is also, unfortunately, one of the most widely held religious beliefs in our world. Whether you believe that humans can be possessed by demonic spirits or not, I think the idea is, again, simply one that was created by humans to explain things they didn't understand. That is my stance. I would welcome a debate on this. I think it could be fun and interesting, and I do respect the opinions of other people, even when they are different from my own. So please tell me what you think. Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about it. I'm very fascinated by this whole thing. I think ultimately everybody has their opinion and everyone's opinion is valuable. I think ultimately it doesn't matter if the people are possessed or not. I think we've got to focus on what we understand to be true based on science, personally. And now it's time for the question of the day. Question of the day! The question of the day is, do you believe that narcissists are demons? And if you believe that, please tell me why. I'm really interested in this. If you don't believe that narcissists are demons, tell me why you don't believe it. And if you do believe or don't believe, tell me if you think your narcissist is a demon. All right, let's talk about it. Share your comments below. All right, I'm going to wrap up for now. I'll see you guys later for another video. Hopefully you feel me on this one. I know it's a very controversial subject, and I really hesitated to post this video, but here it is. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day. As always, thank you for letting me be a part of your day and a part of your life, and thanks for being a part of mine. It really does mean a lot to me.